Commentary Booth is a show for media lovers by media lovers just like you. If you want to support the show, go to pariomagazine.com.au. Welcome to the Commentary Booth, where we watch and, you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a special guest in the form of Pario Magazine's Victorian correspondent. Welcome to the show, Jason Hauth.
Thank you for having me.
Back again for another wrestling pay-per-view review. How's life been?
Good. Enjoying, everything being back to normal. Wrestling's great again, so it's fun.
Back to enjoying the freezing cold weather of Melbourne versus the stinking hot heat of Vegas.
I had so many of my mates, like in the UK and all that sort of stuff there. Like, it's so hot, and I'm like, I miss this, of a morning when I've got to go get firewood and let my ducks out. It is that cold. I can't stand it.
I'm the same. I'm like, I'm over the rain. I think I left the country. It stopped raining. I came back. It started raining. And I'm just like, can I go back to Vegas heat, please? Florida heat, either or.
Oh, it's just, I thought I've seen 40 degrees on Vegas dry heat. Now here I'm thinking I'm going to dread it. It wasn't that bad. And then it's you just got 5 degrees here, and I'm like, no.
You just got to weave in and out of the casinos and you're fine.
Exactly. Just stay in a car and drive all the way to Arizona with the AC blasting the whole time.
You're a maniac. So this week we're going to review the refreshed Ring of Honor with their pay-per-view Death Before Dishonor. In terms of the overall feelings before we get into match breakdown, what did you think of the pay-per-view as a whole?
I thought it was great. Honestly, it was definitely a good show from them. It showed off everything. Not the greatest of all time pay-per-view, but there was enough there that, it really was a very solid display by them. A nice mix of old, new, and everything. And there's really no criticism to come from it on my end.
Yeah, that was my sort of overall takeaway as well. There were a couple of matches in there where I was like, oh, what, that could have been better, but it was still a quality, solid match no matter what. And like I said, I really loved the visual presentation as well, in terms of sort of everything they did. The graph, when they first revealed that new logo, I was kind of a bit iffy on it, but then once it was shown with the proper coloring and shading and everything, I was like, okay, yeah, this is sweet. That then combined with the lower third graphics and the match graphics and all of that sort of stuff, I thought, this is incredible. I loved the whole visual presentation of it, the stage and everything, the way around the ring was set up with the covers over the railings, the skirtings on the ring, and it just felt like old school ROH, but sort of polished up and brought into the modern era, which I thought was amazing.
I can definitely lament on that. One of the things that I was going to write down my notes, but I didn't want it to be that stupid. The fact that there was exposed audio cables on the ground, running up the ramp, and that. The fact that the ring mats went to exactly where the barricades were. You could see the plywood floors of, I gather that's a whatever basketball stadium or whatever. It felt like a decent $20 pay-per-view. It didn't feel like your backyard of shows and all that sort of stuff there. But it was that right mixture of not too polished of, oh no, we've sealed up all the ground so you can't see the plywood floors. There's cables everywhere. One of the best things they did was the Ring of Honor on the skirts. At the top it said Ring of Honor in white. Every time they went to the hard cam, that peaked just perfectly over the guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always in shot was the word Ring of Honor. I don't know if I'd imagine it was deliberate, but it was so well done. It sounds one of those very nitpicky things, but it sold it perfectly because every time on the hard cam it said Ring of Honor just the right distance above the railings, and just everything about it. It felt really good, but not like
It
how
wasn't
WWE
AEW.
NXT, and it's like, it did feel like, WWE, we're going to do NXT, it's going to be dirty and gritty, but we're going to like not go too gritty. We don't want to go too dirty. This was like no, this is dirty, but you're not going to get paid a hot dog at the end.
Yeah, and I loved that they didn't just convert over the AEW set and everything. Like it was a fresh ROH old school set. It still had the stairs as the entrance ramp, and yeah, like I just thought it was really well done. And then just
ECW.
another big thing they did too was shifting the location of the hard cam. I thought that took the entire pay-per-view up another level, because in recent years, ROH, their pay-per-views and shows, the hard cam has been opposite the stage. So like in the back of every shot was just the stage and a screen, and it kind of just made it feel like empty and sterile, or kind of like Impact is at the moment. I think they do the same thing where the stage is the backdrop for everything, and it's kind of like we were talking before this show, the crowd makes a show, so show them.
Yes, and that was the thing. Like every shot, the crowd looked full. It wasn't too deceiving where it's like, we've got 10 people, like Ring of Honor at the end of the run of like, we've got 10 people, so let's just put them in this tiny little pocket, not shoot the rest of the building and whatnot. It felt full. It was shown off perfectly. And even the hill face tunnels, without doing the tunnels, they came out either side of the entrance.
Either side of the main screen, yeah.
That was, another perfect crossover. Like it, honestly, if anything, it was more ECW in nature of, like I said, the floor and everything of, yes, it's the right balance of you're here to enjoy, you're here to watch wrestling, you're not here to watch a performance.
Yeah.
Of, we're going to make sure everything's very glitz and glamour and that. So it was ridiculously good. I'm just a little bit salty I never got to watch the Tony Khan pre-show promo to hype everyone up.
Yep.
My one biggest salty take from the LA show and Double or Nothing, when there was no Tony Khan coming out doing the speech. A little bit salty about that, but either way.
I think my only thing that I would have changed with like the visual presentation of this show would have been to either go back to, do you remember the old school Ring of Honor canvas where like there was a square that was slightly smaller than the actual size of it, and then the Ring of Honor logo was in the middle?
Very, 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 yes. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I would have liked them to either bring that back, just to make it a little bit more at a glimpse it's visually distinct from an AEW show, or even the other option would be to go with the canvas that's split diagonally, one side's red, one side's black. Just another little thing where it's like, it's not a huge factor, it's not going to like drastically change it, but just like for anybody walking past when it's on a TV screen is going to be like, that's not AEW, that's something different. That's not WWE, that's something different.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of also what you do want, is you do want everything to look different, because you want the people walking past going, wait a second, that's not, like little known secret is when I'm in the office, I just watch wrestling all day. So if it's Tuesday or if it's Wednesday, I've got NXT on my screen. The amount of time people that walk past and be like, oh, I used to know Hulk Hogan, they'd be like, wait, that looks different to what my kids watch at home when they watch NXT 2.0 and all that sort of stuff. They're like, oh, okay, that's different. I'm like, yeah, it does help a lot with having, and it just distinguishes it. But definitely consider Ring of Honor doing the whole ring apron thing for like their whatever big
weekly
mega show they end up doing. Yeah, or even like inevitably they're going to do some big mega show at the end of the year. What was their Final Battle? That was it.
Yep.
Final Battle. Like if they, whatever their big mega show is, they go, all right, let's go full nostalgia.
Yeah, because I feel like that's going to be the big challenge Tony faces now, is making these shows feel distinct from each other and unique, so that, yeah, there is crossover, but you don't want the casual person to look at it and be like, these are both owned by the same guy. Like, you want them to feel separate, so that ideally down the line you can do a Forbidden Door type show with two companies you own and control everything.
Yes, which will help a lot, because that's the one thing I guarantee you probably kicked them in the ass of New Japan was Okada's not losing. Okada can't win. And, you know, yeah, when you control the outcomes to everything, you can turn around and go, I don't give a shit. I control, whatever I say goes. And yeah, because, you know, how many crossovers in wrestling have you seen or read about where it's, oh yeah, they were meant to do a best of 5, but they cracked the shits after the first one, so it didn't go to plan.
But, well, even like Forbidden Door with AAA basically saying, no, none of our Mexican talent can work the Forbidden Door show, that totally threw massive spanners in the works. So yeah, I think if he can build up Ring of Honor to a level, and AEW is obviously already at a big level, later down the line you do a Forbidden Door show that is just those two crossing over, and that's a massive deal.
That's exactly, that's it. Obviously where it is. That's when I was watching the show was like them constantly, like the one thing that kind of sense down was them constantly going, hey, AEW Dynamite is coming to da-da-da town and this town and that town. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, anyone that's watching this knows of AEW. They, you know what I mean? If you're watching this, you're following them on social media, you know they're coming to your town next week. Like, I know you got to still say it just so that if it helps get 2 extra ticket sales, it doesn't cost anything to just say on the mic, hey, we're coming to this town next week, blah, 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 to fill dead air. But constantly being reminded AEW is the better place.
That was a little bit disappointing that there wasn't like an announcement for a weekly show or a monthly show. Like, all the promotion for the next wave of shows were AEW shows. There was no more, the next ROH show is in 2 or 3 months. Like, our next pay-per-view is this date. It was just the next AEW show.
Yes.
Which was a little bit sad. Like, I want ROH to come back and be strong.
Yes, exactly. And the same as, because that's what like Impact does that a lot, where they'll do their Slammiversary show and they'll be like, yeah, Slammiversary is happening in June. We're going to advertise a show in November, which is our next pay-per-view. And it's kind of giving you an idea of, okay, this is where things are going to. But yeah, doing the show with no future foresight, except for, I guess, Claudio showing up on AEW TV with the Ring of Honor belt. Cool.
Yeah,
that's it.
It was a bit weird. But the pay-per-view has done really well. Like, I watched the post-show media scrum, and Tony said that they did over 25,000 buys just digitally on Fight and Bleacher. That's not including like just the standard pay-per-view buys, so that's huge for them. And the live attendance was the 4th highest in ROH history, but the largest non-WrestleMania weekend attendance. So that's awesome for them.
That makes, like, again, like, I was, you know, not someone that I didn't follow it in its prime. I did watch all the Young Bucks, Bullet Club is there, and, you know, that time period. And that just blows my mind that show, which was so not thrown together last second, but not, you know, that's their 4th biggest show ever, was Tony Khan throwing a pin at the board, going, boom, okay, we're going to this city at this time, be there.
Yeah, just like
the 4th largest.
The fact that, they really only had a couple of segments on AEW to build to this show. That's not like they had a weekly show to establish storylines and establish reasons for people to, let's lay out the $40 to buy this show.
Yeah, it
was just crazy. Imagine when they have that. Imagine when they have 3 or 4 months of build to a pay-per-view.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I'm like, wow, that's their 4th, like, yeah, you forget how, like, Ring of Honor was really popular, but yeah, they did not really grow that. But I guess TK owns it now, so
if Tony can get them back into the Hammerstein at the end of the year for Final Battle, I think that will blow the doors off the joint.
That would be, because
that would be one where I'd be like, maybe I need to go back and go to that show.
Yes. That is probably one where I will turn around and say to my girlfriend, hey, you know how we had one to have that super romantic, like, New Year's in Tokyo, Japan, just outside the Tokyo Dome? For no particular reason, we'll be near the Tokyo Dome at the start of January. Don't know why. it'd be like, let's go to New York instead. You know, snow, winter, final battle, December. It sounds like it would be a better idea there because
that would be one way to get me to go to New York in winter.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to survive that.
Probably not, but I'd be tempted.
But yeah, that's obviously where they have to be going, is the Hammerstein Ballroom, Manhattan Center, something like that.
Yep.
Hey, they can always go back to the Madison Square Garden again. That worked out so well last time they did that.
Yeah, no, I think Hammerstein, like, it's so fitting. Like, that's the spiritual home of ROH. So at some point, they're gonna have to book a show there.
Yeah, no, GCW ran it, so it's obviously open for business. But
yep,
it's
just expensive. I think that's the big issue. I think it's super expensive.
It's New York. But then again, Tony Khan, he's like, screw it.
That's not like Tony's strapped for cash.
Yeah.
In terms of like match by match breakdown, did you end up checking out the pre-show at all?
I was supposed to, and then I forgot, and then I got busy with work and went, so I haven't watched it. I did see what happened, and I was a bit like, oh yeah, cool. So I kind of forgot. I got sidetracked a little bit because I ended up rewatching the first 3 matches because Tyler was watching it before this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So instead of watching the pre-show, I just decided to rewatch the start of the show to make sure I definitely paid attention.
Yeah, well, for me, the pre-show was largely missable. Like, there was good, solid matches on there. Colt versus Anthony Henry was really cool. Like, just for the fact of having Colt there, who has now been involved in every single iteration of ROH from the very beginning to the HD net to what were they? The Sinclair Broadcasting to now this version. Yeah. So like, he's been involved in all of those, which is nice. We had the next matchup was the Shinobi Shadow Squad of Cheeseburger and Eli Isom versus the Trust Busters of Ari Davari and Slim J. Another really like solid, fun match to get the crowd going a little bit. Having Slim J there was pretty cool because he's like an ROH original, so a nice little nostalgia play by Tony, but Slim wasn't just like the nostalgia act, like he actually can still go, so hopefully he gets a bit more run in Ring of Honor, which would be cool. Alison Kay versus Willow Nightingale was probably the highlight of the pre-show, just purely because Willow gets such a big reaction every time she comes out. Like, I think the first time I saw her was the last ROH show, Supercard of Honor, and I was instantly sold on her then. And then she came out for this match, massive pop from the crowd, and I'm like, if Tony hasn't signed her up, that's got to be a high priority. That's next on the list of get this girl signed.
Who won that one? Because that's actually that's the one I'm kind of a little bit, because she's been on AEW a lot recently, hasn't she? She's the one that was, yeah.
She teamed with Ember Moon, or not Ember Moon. Athena. Yeah, she teamed with her last week, and Willow picked up the win in the pre-show. And then,
perfect. Okay, that's good then.
And then, like, the big talking point coming out of the pre-show was Tully Blanchard Enterprises has been purchased by Prince Nana, the former Ring of Honor, like, long-term manager. So, Tully Blanchard Enterprises is no more. The embassy has been reborn in this new reborn Ring of Honor. And the embassy of Brian Cage, Toa Leona, and Cohen, they defeated Tony Deppen, Alex Zane, and Blake Christian in just like this crazy action-packed 6-man match to sort of establish the embassy as a threat for the 6-man titles, and then kind of hype the crowd up as well leading into the main card. So yeah, like, largely missable. Like, if you have time to go back and watch it for an hour, like, it's worth chucking on the background, but it's not like desperate you have to go and watch it like some of the AEW pre-shows have been.
Yeah, no, I think my mistake was, I thought when you go pre-show, you kind of go 45 minutes of promo, one match.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I was like,
that's the WWE
then,
stuff.
Like, the WWE style, AEW kind like at least they go like half hour, 2 matches, and promos in between, and it's hard to watch a promo hyping up the world title match, and you're like, I already know the winner.
already know. I've already watched all this promo video.
Yeah, and then you get sidetracked and try to like skip through everything, missing. And I think that's what I did wrong. So I'm like, I need to kind of focus on my work for like maybe 10, 15 minutes so I don't get in trouble. And yeah, no, I can only imagine Alex Zane would have just done something stupid like he did down here last week or the week before. So
yeah, no, it was a good pre-show in terms of like it was match. It was like promo, match. Like it just kept flowing. Like it wasn't like, oh god, we're sitting through 5 promos now for the pay-per-view. Like
yeah,
it kept flowing, and you had the match, and then you got a promo video, then you got another match, and then you got a promo video. It's like, okay, this isn't like killing the momentum of the show leading into the pay-per-view. So yeah, like I said, worth checking out, but not like desperate that you need to see it before seeing the actual main card.
Yeah, which is why I messaged you to ask, because like, I pretty much got straight home, boom, did what I needed to do, put it on, and then was shocked when the first match started.
Yeah, what did you think of the shock opener of the ROH World title between Jonathan Gresham and Claudio Castagnoli to open the show?
So, first of all, I messaged you about this. Like, normally I'm smart and I know don't go on social media if there's a show you're not watching. And for whatever dumb reason, I went from Messenger to message you and a couple other friends to jump back onto Facebook to just try and find some funny memes to laugh at while Louisa got ready. And then the first thing that came up was Claudio wins the title. I'm like, oh, screw. I'm like, God, Louisa looks at me going, oh no, what's happened? I'm like, oh, the play fighting thing. And she just went, like, I'm trying to get ready here.
You just panicked her for no reason.
Yeah, like here she is thinking like something serious has happened because she knows I'm like on my phone reading stuff. So she thought I read something upsetting, and it's like, no, I ruined something that I kind of knew was going to happen, but now I know it definitely happened. And then me and Tyler caught up at my nephew's birthday, and we're both trying to like, oh, what do you know? We're both not reading results, and we're trying to, the last thing we do is go, oh, I know Cesaro wins. Oh, well, I know such and such wins. Okay, cool. Let's show for each other. Same story happened to him. Is he put open Facebook at 10 o'clock, 10:05, and then boom, there was, and it was like we just weren't expecting it. And that's why, finally enough, I thought the show started at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Because you saw that spoiler.
Like, some indie shows do, GCW will start at like 7 a.m. in the morning here. Yep. And then, daylight savings. So then it pushes in. It's like, that's why I'm like, I don't know. And then for the rest of the day, I'm like,
I didn't think that show started that early.
At 10 o'clock. Like, I'm not going to look into it more, but it was annoying because I couldn't look into it, but I kind of wanted to know why. But yeah, and then like as I messaged you, getting back onto topic, as I messaged you, I'm like, that was a squash match. Like that was either Gresham was meant to do the script originally said Gresham calls out mystery person is Cesaro, Claudio, if Forbidden Door never happened.
Yep.
Like it's kind of like that was the script, and like WWE logic of, well, that's what the script says, so that's what we're doing. That's what they did, was this is what it was meant to be. And or it came off like independent star versus local talent match where local guy gets to do his little flippy things, but
he just gets run over.
Sweat. He's you know what I mean? I'll do the swing. I'll tempt a UFO. You can do your little moves. Boom, 1, 2, 3, match over. All right, I'll meet you at the merch stand.
Yep. Like in the post conference, Tony did say that was the original plan of Claudio was supposed to be a mystery opponent, but then the injuries happened, Forbidden Door happened, Blood and Guts happened, and they kind of had to spoil their own surprise by pulling Claudio in to replace Brian. But yeah, I did like that they didn't just throw it out first like oh, we're just putting this on first. Like, they gave in commentary a reason for it. They were like, we have 2 big main event matches, worthy matches, the world title and the tag titles. So we did a coin toss, and the tag titles got the main event spot.
Oh,
but like,
I did not hear that made one.
Yeah, so like they explained that in commentary, and I was like, well, that makes sense. That makes it feel like, yeah, these are 2 equal matches, and it was just luck of the draw of which one came first. So that was good. But then, like you said, it did feel like Gresham kind of didn't get much in. Like he got a little bit of offense in. He kind of like wore down the legs a bit, but then the size difference played into it. But then today we got the big news that he has apparently requested his release, totally blasted Tony pre-show and cussed him out. And I went back and rewatched it this morning after hearing that news, and rewatching it, you can tell from the start that there was something amiss. Like, he didn't come out in his Foundation octopus gear. He just came out in a plain t-shirt with the belt. No Prince Nana, except suddenly he was at ringside, so I think he just came out afterwards. Like, oh, shit, he's in the ring. He just kind of looked disgruntled as he walked out. Like, he didn't do any like posing or fanfare or anything. He just kind of strolled out to the ring, got in the ring, did the match, lost, shook hands, left.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, yeah. So now, looking back on it with the context of the news today, it's like, yeah, he was not happy going into that match. And look, I can understand where he's coming from of, hey, I carried this company during the most difficult time for the company. But yeah, like, from Tony's perspective, you're relaunching a company, you're going to be pitching this for TV rights deals and potential streaming deals and things. Who do you want at the face? The guy that everyone knows from WWE, who looks like a massive star, dresses in a suit, looks super marketable, and has like that air of, this guy's special. Or the random guy that probably nobody knows about outside of like hardcore wrestling fans. So,
yes,
honestly, Claudio was the only logical choice to win this match. I just think perhaps it should have been closer to 20 or 30 minutes, hard fought battle, not big dude crushes little dude.
Yeah, that's because that was the thing. Like, I tried not to message you also because it was 10:30 at night, so I didn't want to message you, get in a full conversation, and we get on this thing, and you're like, "What do you think of the show?" And I messaged you last night by Messenger. Like, we've already talked about it. But like that I just had to, because I'm like, is there something I'm missing? Like, I can't jump on the internet and find out results because the Briscoes match. I don't want to be like, hey, what happened to Ring? Oh, that is a big dad. I'm like, oh, I don't want to know that. And that was definitely one that was, someone was not happy, and it showed as well. And apparently full cusses out Tony Khan backstage and everything like that. Like,
and is now like apparently just quit wrestling overall. Like,
yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like, he was meant to come down here. He had to go do the thing in what's it called?
He had to do a Rampage match.
Stay there just to do a heel turn, and then basically, then quits and leaves. Like, he was also like, because at one point he was like Progress champion and Ring of Honor champion. Like, he was there everywhere else, and now he's just like, no. So that was definitely a very big talking point.
I agree that there obviously does need to be some better use of talent relations in AEW and Ring of Honor, but Claudio was always going to win this match. Like, once Claudio signed on the dotted line, he was always winning.
That's why when I seen the Facebook spoiler, I wasn't like, it wasn't like a, you know what I mean?
Shit, like, that's a shock.
If I said the Briscoes won the tag belts or whatever, I would have been like fuming, like pissed off about it all. But instead,
and then after the world title match, we moved on to the ROH 6-man tag titles with the Righteous versus Dalton Castle and the Boys. Again, I thought this was a really enjoyable match. Nothing like overly standout apart from Dalton tossing boys.
Mm.
But for me, like, I was watching this with Karina and Chloe, who had very little reference for Dalton Castle. I think maybe they'd seen him once on like a Rampage a while ago, but yeah, he managed to like capture their attention really quickly, and then they were quickly supporting him. So I think that's a sign of he's going to be a big player for this new Ring of Honor. He's like the most like character driven, I feel, of the Ring of Honor talent at the moment. Like everyone else is kind of just solid wrestler dude, whereas he's just like this big flamboyant character who stands out because of that. The Dalton Castle and the boys winning again, I felt was the logical choice. Like,
right choice. Because he's definitely signed. Vincent, I don't think we'll see him very much.
It made me wonder, like, with the 6-man tag titles, I wonder if at some point, with the rumors of AEW introducing trios belts, now that Dalton Castle and the boys are the 6-man tag champs, when there's a tournament to crown the inaugural AEW trios champions, do they bring them over as the crossover talent to be like, these guys are the Ring of Honor 6-man champs, they are a legitimate threat, and then have them lose a hard-fought battle in the first round or something, but establish them as these dudes are legit.
Like I would keep them out of it because you don't want champions losing. If the champions are going to win, the top champions, like the other brand champions, are going to win, you kind of keep them out of it. Otherwise, they look a bit weak. But yeah, like when they brought back those 6-man titles, like I'm pretty sure I messaged you straight away, going like, "Oh, I thought that was going to be the very, very last belt I'll bring back," because it's like we don't want any 6-man promotion until we're ready. Yeah, well, they wait a little bit longer, and the fact they had the original champions, they had the god ugly,
the ugliest belts.
Ones. They are so bad. Just yeah.
The Ring of Honor belts overall need to be updated. Like, I liked the traditional world title belt. I liked the pure title. I love the tag titles, but yeah, like they do need a slight upgrade to get the new logo. And then there needs to be some consistency across the board too. Like, I feel like all the belts should be silver, just so they all have that same style. Maybe all with like that rectangle ROH logo in the center style as well, because currently they have 6 belts. They have 3 different styles. Because you've got the world title, the pure title, and the tag belts are all a similar. They all have that same design sensibilities. Yeah. The women's title and the TV title are different. They're like the Sinclair Broadcasting style. Yeah. And then you've got the 6-man belts, which are just totally out there wacky belts.
Yeah, because they were the belts they brought. That was after the Bucks left, when they did like that mini reboot before COVID, like in that like 1 year time gap between the two of them, when they. Yeah, because they brought out the new Ring of Honor belt. Because I think that TV belt is the same as the 6-man, but they just look totally different. Like
no, it's the Sinclair. It's similar to the Sinclair world title. The one.
Yeah. That's
the one after that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the one I got up there as well. And they're very grainy footage because my Apple camera is shit.
So
yes.
I would like to see them all updated, and like they can be slightly different, but I feel like they need to have a design style that goes across the board. Like, I get AEW have different belts, but their world title, the men's and women's, have a similar design sensibility. The tag belts are in that same vein as well. But then your secondary belts of your TBS and TNT, they're different, but they're both the same.
Yeah.
So I think I just would like them to have some sort of uniform, this is the ROH style, which I think the easiest way to do that is just go
silver,
red logo. The shapes can be different.
but it's also the same. Like those belts will beat up. Like I seen some of like the close-up footage when they were, put it up in the air, and I'm like, yeah, that probably works when you're using, my MacBook camera to film the shows.
Yeah, when you use them 4K cameras.
TV, yeah. I'm like, and yeah, they look like, because I remember who brought in the Pure belt when that was brought back. And I know that person, I think they went to their local knockoff dealer to get a special knockoff version, and that's why it looks really iffy. Like, pay the money, get some proper, designed by proper people that put high quality work into them. Because they look paper thin, and like half of them, like
they look so
corner
thin.
straps are falling off, and it's like, they need a good refresh. They need a good clean, a good refresh, and like just using proper materials to build them, not cardboard.
Yeah, I imagine I'm sure they will get a TV deal, but I imagine once that happens, they'll take some of the money from that and reinvest it into, here are 6 new belts.
Exactly. And look, I understand why they're not doing it now. Like I said, you don't want to turn around and go, hey, look, here's new 6-man tag belts and all that sort of stuff there.
And they just spent all the money on purchasing the company, re-establishing the touring parts of the company, signing all the talent. Yeah, belts can wait. We own the belts that they had.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, it's not a high priority. It's just one of those things that you look at and you're like, that looks like dog shit, and I hate the different designs, because that last design they had, I'm just glad they did not keep the whole world title. That was so bad.
That Sinclair belt is gross. That was so gross.
The
HD net belt that we have, I like that belt.
Yes. Well, yeah, and not
but then
too much.
I like the original ROH belt too.
The new ones get back. The replicas of the fucking Sinclair ones were like paper thin on wrong strappings and dinner plate sizes. But like keep the original designs. Like the Pure belt, I do like the fact that it's close to the same design as the world title.
Yeah, instead of saying ROH, it just says Pure. Honestly, if you just made them all the world title shape and only the world title had ROH in the middle, and then the Pure belt had Pure, the women's belt had women, and then the tag had tag team champions or tag champs, something like that. That way they're the same but different. But then I get people would probably complain that the women's one says women and not ROH. Yeah, you could just do ROH women underneath or something.
Yeah, and that's it. I'm sure, you make them the same as the tag belts, 6-man belts. Just, even the old design they had for them was really nice. And whatnot. So it's definitely something I look forward to them updating. But those 6-man tag belts are so awful. I hate them.
They're horrid. So horrid.
Whoever designed that shit.
Yeah, from the 6-man tag titles, we moved on to the ROH Pure Championship between Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, pretty much just 2 AEW guys. So this was like the first time we had 2 AEW guys. Basically, there was no ROH dude involved. So again, this is where Tony is going to have that issue of making these distinct separate products, building their own separate fan bases. Like throughout the show, you kind of notice that all the ROH guys got lesser reactions to the AEW crossover stars. So that's going to be an issue moving forward, I think.
To their credit on that, at least they're guys that fit in Ring of Honor. You're not sending down your the JD Drake guy from Dark to work Ring of Honor on the main show. You're sending down guys that, if this was COVID never happened sort of thing, these are guys that would be in Ring of Honor, as it was, and they just went in and out on it. Definitely, probably second match of the night for me.
Yeah, well, for me, up until the main event, this was my match of the night. Like, I thought this was so well done. I loved all the nods to their mentors throughout the match. Like, we saw the walls of Jericho being applied, the bulldog choke, the regal stretch. the label lock,
Literally,
Yuta using the
word for word.
Yuta used the seatbelt to pin to get the victory, which was the move that Chuck Taylor taught him. Like, so good. And then like even Daniel Garcia wearing the maroon was kind of like a nod to Danielson and Regal, but also like spitting in their face because he was wearing it and not Yuta. I was like, this is so good.
Okay, now you've just copied most of my notes, because literally that was like my one main note I wrote down was submission transitions from this move to that move and the nods and yada yada yada. But I will say, the backwards leather Triple H paddy cap on Garcia when he walked out. You know me well enough to know that I was on Amazon going, should I buy this or not? That thing there was just boss as attitude, and I want it. Just enough said there.
Yeah, he's been wearing that a bit recently, which is funny. I do like that. I loved Regal on commentary was also amazing on this. Like, he added so much to this match in terms of like just elevating it in terms of like significance of, hey, these are two guys that have trained with me. These are two guys that kind of are the next layer of ROH. Like, he talked about how Ring of Honor exists because of two people that he mentored in Brian Kendrick and Bryan Danielson. And yeah, these two guys are like those two 20 years later.
Well, seeing as you copied me word for word there again on my notes, because we have both the same thing. Like, I can't put over Regal just made everything make sense in wrestling. Because like, if you turn around and go, why aren't they just, thumbing each other in the eye? Why don't you do this? Regal just sits there, and the way he says it as well is, myself been watching wrestling for way too much time in my whole life. I'm like, that makes sense. I've never thought of that. And it's like, you could listen to him talk about how an armbar is the most devastating move in the industry, when I'm like, no, it's like an F5 off the top of the ladder through a burning table. He's like, no, it's an armbar. Why? Okay, you're right. Just so much he put over, like, how just the small things in wrestling, why wrestling makes sense when you have Regal explaining it to you, going, this is why, they just don't grab a chair and smack each other in the head.
Yeah, well, even when like Garcia, I think it was Garcia, hit like a pile driver variation, and Yuta like turned his head slightly, and he was like, this is why someone would turn their head in that situation. I was like, that is amazing.
Yes, exactly. It makes sense why, you know what I mean? And then he also said Garcia does not hit the pile driver every single weekend. So that's why Suzuki hits it, it ends the match. Or, should end the match or whatever, you know what I mean? Versus, some random Joe Blow hits the pile driver out of nowhere as the finish. The one thing though, Regal putting on over Ring of Honor as well on the on the headsets of, even when I was working at other companies, I still told people, you want to learn? Here's the business card for Ring of Honor. Yep. You want to watch something? Here's this DVD. Like, putting over the fact that even though I was working in the competition, I was still sending everyone I could hear from the shadows for the longest time. And it's a cool thing to hear him say, I've been helping this place out more than I can now legally say it. Couldn't ever say it before.
In terms of like the overall match, I felt it was shorter and less violent than I was expecting, but also I get why they've done it that way. Yeah,
no, legit. And again, I shocked it went for 15. I thought it was going to be at least 25, 30. Like, when the match came on, that's what I'm like, here I am watching it like 10:30 at night, going, I need to stay awake. And technical wrestling sometimes is not the best thing to watch if you want to stay alert and awake.
Oh yeah, if you're sleepy, that's not the most compelling.
That's why I was so worried. Like, I already had the message lined up to send you, going, lol, fell asleep halfway through, have to watch it tomorrow. I promise I'll get it done in time. I was stressing out, and then it's like 15 minutes over, and I'm like, I'm not going to complain, But
Especially because
like,
it was like just
oh,
a snap roll up. I was like, oh, that's cool.
yeah, like it was one of those things that, like, you like William Regal on commentary going, if Yuta, uses a rope break, we're kicking him out of the group because you shouldn't need to use a rope break.
Hmm.
And all these small, like these throwaway lines that Regal said on commentary that, you know what I mean, are so throwaway that makes sense at the end of it. He didn't use a rope break. He's still in the combat club. And yeah, it made it seem like, no, he's there because he wants to be there, not because Tony Khan just picked names out of a hat and said, William Regal is now teaming with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yep.
There's just so much about that. Like, it was good. I am tempted to go watch the hour-long match.
Oh yeah.
Now, the one that
I
had,
imagine.
Again, it is probably will put me to sleep for 5 minutes.
But yeah, like I said, I get why this match was less violent and shorter and ended the way it did, because obviously these two guys are still super young and they're going to be like, I imagine, the pillars of Ring of Honor and AEW moving forward. So don't throw everything you have in on the first match. Like, hold some crap back, and we can come back and we can revisit this 6 months down the line when Garcia wants to get a bit more violent and Yuta can get a bit more violent, and you can revisit this over and over and over, and you haven't burnt everything in the first match.
Yes, which is Tony Khan's booking 101 of don't blow your load on the first shot.
Yep. And then, like, later in the night, we got the big reveal, Garcia versus the returning Bryan Danielson this week on Dynamite. How much did you pop for that announcement?
I will admit, that was the part. I actually did turn it on because I went into the main event next, and I was getting very, very drowsy at that point. I just went, wait, what? Had to rewind it and go, no, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brian's going to get injured again. He's going to do something stupid, go like, let's do headbutts.
Yeah, I hope not.
I hope not. But yeah, that's why, because I was certain Garcia was winning the belt, just to, not have all the faces have him and, give him something. Just WWE.
But I imagine they're building like BCC to have like the dominant group everything with all the belts type thing. And especially also, after the main event.
Yeah, that. The titles of champions. But also Brian versus the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, and the Pure Champion gets his head kicked in. Not a good look.
Not a great look. Yeah. But yeah, I flipped out when that announcement came on. I was like, holy shit, Brian's fixed. He's good. He's cleared.
Yeah. Perfect timing as well, just as everyone's like, oh shit.
Yeah, so I'm super keen for that match this week.
Walk out.
He was at Comic-Con.
Brian just didn't walk out on stage. Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was at Comic-Con. And yeah, he said in his Comic-Con panel that he was cleared, and then about 40 minutes later it was announced on ROH. So I was glad I was staying off social media, because that would have spoiled that announcement for me.
Yeah, and you're glad you actually watched, because that was the other thing, like parts of the show I did kind of zone out a little bit and, get sidetracked. But for the most part of that show, like if I'd seen that happen, I probably wouldn't have read about it because I was too busy watching the first 40 minutes of the show, being like, I don't have time to, deep scroll social media to find Comic-Con clips.
Yep.
And whatnot. So, onwards and upwards of this. I guess Jericho I love the fact he still came out to Jericho Appreciation Society, even on Ring of Honor. Like, it still kept that, it's not like he's part of it. No, full music, full everything. So
I liked it in like the build up they played on that, where Garcia was talking about how in all of interviews and stuff that Brian did when he came in, it was him that Brian wanted in his group, not Yuta. So it just added that extra bit of layer of tension between the two. So honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if at some point down the line those two switch and Garcia comes across to BCC and Yuta goes over to Jericho. I wouldn't be shocked, but
Nah.
I
See,
feel like at
I
the
don't
moment
see
they're in the
that.
right spots because Yuta was always kind of like the happy-go-lucky character dude,
Mm,
was never violent, whereas Garcia was the violent guy that didn't have a character. And then they've been put with the
mm.
groups that bring out those elements in them to increase them as talent.
West, I can definitely see that, but then Regal on commentary is like, oh, the only reason I'm not approaching him is because you can't have all the best in one
Yeah,
stable because then who does the best verse? And it's one of those things of that makes so much sense why he's sitting there going, Gus is the best, Gus is the best. Well, why is he not part of your group? Well, we need someone diverse.
and yeah, like
Uh,
he's just kind of saying like, "There's nothing I can teach him. He's already a violent asshole."
yeah, that's it. It was just like, wow, you really didn't. No one came off bad in that situation. So yeah, the whole thing. I could not wait to see how Garcia and that turn out. Ring of Honor definitely is going to be a place where, yeah, I can definitely see in a year's time. It's okay. They're going after the world title,
Yep,
you know what I
yeah.
mean, or
At
something like
some
that.
point
You know, it's
further down the line, this match will probably be a world title match, not a pure match.
yeah. So yeah, no, they had the judges, they had everything, even though, yeah, it obviously didn't get close to it, but, you know, it is good that they still went up and beyond for it.
I did like that the judges were Ace Steel, um, someone else, and Josh Woods, like all former pure
Mm.
champions, and like one of them was the original pure champions. Like that's a cool little touch.
Oh,
They
yeah,
weren't just
they always do
dudes.
good with that. Yeah, it's not random guy here subbing in for him.
Yep. So then from there we moved on to the brothers versus brother clash, Roosh versus Dragon Lee. I felt these two put on an outstanding match, but just didn't get the crowd reaction that the match deserved,
Yeah,
which I think is that, again, that issue of the people watching this show were kind of AEW fans, not necessarily hardcore Ring of Honor fans. Like, there were people that knew Ring of Honor like us, but a lot of like
mm.
casual AEW fans were coming across to check out what is this whole ROH thing about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that. Because yeah, Roosh hasn't really done. Like I said, he was part of the forgotten era of Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID, I don't think he did anything. I think he might have done some Ring of Honor stuff, but again, it's so
Yeah.
forgettable, especially at that time when there's just billions of things going on at once. You know,
Yeah,
Ring of
well,
Honor was
former
very
Ring of
the
Honor
one priority
champion.
for
So,
everyone. Yeah, because you had the PCO and then dropped it and then that, and yeah. And then Dragon Lee, like they had a solid match. Like, was that the first? Because they said that was the first time they've ever versed each other.
yep,
That surely can't be correct. That
I,
surely can't be right.
I think it was.
I could have, okay, yeah, I would have sworn they versed before or whatever, but again, I don't know anything about Lucha, so you know what I mean. It was one of those things. I'm like,
Yeah,
sure, this is Pentagon.
yeah,
This isn't Penta versus Phoenix's first ever match ever. You know, when I'm sure that's on rotation somewhere. But yeah, no, that's good. It was so much shit that was just like, wait, how do you do that?
oh yeah, and just like they were for brothers, they were belting the shit out of each other. There was no holding back in
Yes,
that match, which I thought made it awesome. But yeah, like I said, the crowd just like they were into it, but not like they were for Yuta Garcia. After like after the match for Roosh and Dragon Lee, we got the announcement of Roosh's next match at AEW
yeah,
versus Mox. Another one where I was like, holy crap, that's going to be huge. How's Moxley's form? Wins the
yeah,
interim title and now he's just taking on everyone and like not just random dudes, like legitimate threats, really.
yeah. Like people that you don't do a throwaway TV title match for. You would
Yeah,
think.
it's not going to be a
But
5 minute squash. Like it's going to be let's beat the crap out of each other
yeah,
for 15 minutes.
like it's definitely a match where Mox is like, yeah, no, this is who I want to verse. Like him versus Brody Lee, random as it was. But yeah, that's a huge next match for Roosh.
Mm-hmm. Especially like when they're establishing the a faction in Gobernals.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
going to say.
I
Yeah,
imagine
they talked about that a
Andrade
lot.
gets involved and we get
Yeah,
a little arc
I
of,
still around.
but I guess we didn't get an arc of House of Black versus BCC. So maybe it will just be
Yeah,
a nothing match, but in ring it's going to be great. It just might not lead to anything story wise.
Yeah, because that's one of the things is is it a pivot from House of Black? Is it just let's just do this match while we can? The thing is I'm sure that will be cleared up on Thursday when we find out what is actually going on there. Because what are the other matches they announced? Because they announced none of other than the Brian one. They announced a couple that were like, oh, that's half decent. Because I know maybe they did the full run. I know they did the full rundown before the main event. Sorry.
Yeah.
I announced some ones that like, oh yeah, that's half decent.
Yeah, I did remember looking at it being like, this is going to be a cool show again. So looking forward to it. And then the next match on the card, the ROH Women's World Championship, Mercedes Martinez defending against Serena Deeb. What did you think of this one?
That was an all right match. It is what it is, sort of thing there. Like it wasn't nothing I'd write home about. That just Serena Deeb just doesn't like. There are some people I don't get the appeal on, and Serena Deeb's just one of those people. I just don't get her thing.
So yeah, I was stealing all your notes, and now you're stealing all mine.
Yeah, that's it.
Like
I'm trying to think of how to
in ring
properly, but yeah.
In ring wise, I thought this was a nice, solid match, good back and forth. Like it felt like the most championship style match out of all the matches we'd seen so far, where you felt like it could legitimately go either way. But yeah, like you were saying, I respect and understand everything that Serena has meant to women's wrestling throughout the years and what she means to the women in the locker room, but I just have no emotional reaction to her at all. So it's kind of just like every time she's in a match, I'm kind of like, I don't really care. Like, whatever. Like, I think the biggest indictment I have on this match is all I wanted was I just don't want Serena to win. And honestly, I was just hoping that Mercedes won and then we got a debut at the end, but we didn't get that. So I was kind of just like,
that's legitimately what I was like. It's just like, look, all the respect for her. She means a lot to people, blah, blah, blah. But just me as a fan on the other side of the barricade, I'm like, cool. Yeah, nothing connects here, but I
get that technically she's really good. Like watching her, I'm like, you are technically good, but character-wise, does nothing for me.
Yes, exactly. And it's one of those. It reminds me of one of those ones where you're like, you can have all the talent and do all these cool things, but if someone just doesn't connect, that person's just
dead in the water.
Not going to. Yeah, that's it. That and it's one of those things. Like I see a good crowd reaction, I'm like, I get it, but I don't get it because I don't get it. Try to put myself in other people's shoes. But yeah, I'm glad that she didn't win because hopefully now they can move on to another title picture with someone else there. I was kind of hoping Deonna Purrazzo shows up, but
but I guess she's technically signed to Impact.
I think Vincent's a part of Impact as well, part of that No More Honor group.
Yeah, the Honor No More group. Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
I think I don't know some
but much, but Tony is willing to work with people, so yeah, Deonna would have been cool. I was also hoping for someone like maybe a Kyrie now that she's free.
Yeah,
I feel like she'd be an incredible addition to the Ring of Honor women's roster. Like she would be a star, and like having her crossover with the AEW roster would be great. But I think she'd get lost in a shovel in AEW just because they have quite a few good women now, whereas Ring of Honor is really what, in the 2 pay-per-views we've seen since Tony bought them, is 4 people in the women's division.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
We've got Alison Kay, Willow, Mercedes, and Serena. So like, I feel like that's the area where they need to flesh out this roster a bit. And people like, when I was hoping for a debut, the people I had in mind were Kyrie would be a massive get, Dakota Kai be a massive get.
Yeah, she'd be perfect.
But I think she might be coming to AEW based on the Ruby, Anna Jay, Tay Conti interplay that's going on at the moment. Because Ruby and Dakota were former tag partners in Shimmer.
Yeah, I was going to say when you said that, I'm like, wait a second, I should know this from, talks I've had with all the different people, reminding me of all the small things I should remember about Dakota Kai.
Yeah, and then the other people I had were Nixon Newell. She hasn't been doing anything for a while, and she's a phenomenal athlete. Chelsea Green would be another one, but again, you have that Impact GCW weird situation. Or perhaps, just for us Australians, Charlie Evans. I think she'd be a great addition to Ring of Honor.
Oh, definitely would be like a solid fit there, because again, Ring of Honor, you can just go full violence. And it's encouraged. Even a Ring of Honor is encouraged, but I mean, AEW is encouraged, but Ring of Honor,
and it's a perfect. It would be a perfect breeding ground to introduce her to the US audience. She's done the GCW shows, so she has a bit of a hardcore following. She's done Shimmer, so she's got that following, but on a big TV stage, Ring of Honor would be the perfect introduction rather than AEW, who the hell is this girl? Whereas you put her in Ring of Honor, you can have Eddie Kingston come across and be like her mentor manager thing, because they have that connection. It'd be a cool way to get Eddie back to Ring of Honor.
Exactly, and that's it. I honestly forgot there was that many great women out there, and it's also one of those. It's the downfall of, do you want to have all these people show up and then be like, oh yeah, cool, the next show's not for another 6 months, and we'll call you 24 hours before the show so you can come to Rampage, do a quick 5-minute thing, and so
I think once they get a TV deal, we'll get some big stars signing on, because you'll be exclusive Ring of Honor talent, kind of like what Colt is from the sounds of things, where you're a Ring of Honor, you're a Ring of Honor talent, not an AEW talent.
Yeah,
and I get why the Briscoes will happily sign. I get why the Briscoes signed now, because they have their outside business, the chicken farm. They got to deal with that. They don't need to be on the road every week. They can just come in for Ring of Honor shows.
Yeah, exactly. And I can always respect someone that runs a chicken farm and looks after chickens, as you can tell by my experience with things. I can see why they. And again, that way they have their 1 week, and look, I can see Ring of Honor probably just doing bulk tapings and releasing them episodically over time. So, the women's division is definitely one that I hope will be a lot better.
It's very thin. It just needs to be fleshed.
Yeah, at least it's in the spirit of Ring of Honor, because, again, to my knowledge, their women's division, all I remember was they had a good one, then Angelina Love won the title, and everyone went, yep, and we've lost interest.
Yep. Yeah. It was when when Ring of Honor was first established, it was very much in the PWG style, where they didn't have women for ages. And then they would have 1 or 2 showcase matches, and then eventually it kind of got fleshed out. And I think, bringing in someone like a Maria Kanellis to sort of helm the women's division in Ring of Honor would take a massive burden off Tony. He could just, he's already running 2 companies. That would just take one little thing off his plate, and she could pick. She's good at scouting talent. She's good at booking the women's division, and I think we could build the women's division in Ring of Honor to be good, and then you get those. You could do crossover shows where it's just a purely women's show, where it's the Ring of Honor women versus the AEW women, stuff like that. So.
And that's it. If you build up the women enough, then you can turn around. You can do your, hey, look, this Saturday afternoon, we're running a show, women's own, women's card, just to show off all the women from across the company, special event sort of thing. You can do something like that if you build it up properly.
Yep.
Which, they can do.
And then we went into the final two matches of the night, starting with the ROH TV Championship, Samoa Joe defending against Jay Lethal. Awesome to see Samoa Joe back at like old school Godzilla Monster Joe, just beating the crap out of someone.
Yes, definitely. I got a little bit scared at the start when like they did the whole post-show, the pre-match angle, and I'm like, Joe's going to lose the belt to a super kick. Like, it's a roll in the ring, he gets up, super kicked, ha ha ha, we won. Mm-hmm. And then when it kept going, I'm like, okay, this is getting good. And then Joe just so good. So good. The amount of the counter at the end for the key to clutch, just perfect.
Like, I love seeing, old school Joe back, but obviously with his age and his injury history and stuff, he's not going to be able to do that every week. You can't have him on AEW smashing out those sort of matches every week. But to have him back doing every month or every 2 months a Ring of Honor show like this and just going all out in those sort of style matches would be great to see. And the crowd was super into this match as well, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was one of those matches that's like not all that much to say. It was just a solid, good match. Crowd were happy. The end result, they did the little run-ins and the mess around stuff, but it was good. Like, it was a solid, good match. Like, it's one of those matches where not really much to say other than I was entertained.
I think it was perfectly placed on the card too, because like we mentioned, the Serena Mercedes match, the crowd were they were enjoying it, but they weren't like frothing at the mouth for it. But then this brought the energy back up without draining the crowd out too much, because you had all that pre-match interference craziness, which got them amped up. But then we got a solid match to sort of let them temper down a bit. And then we got the right result, and then we went into the main event, which was just phenomenal.
That was insane. Like, honestly, I don't think I just wrote my notes, was like, this was being amazing. Like, just classic Ring of Honor tag belts main event, you know what I mean? Showing that off. Because I had mine recorded and all that stuff, I think it went for like 50 minutes. And I'm like, this is a Ring of Honor main event. I was shocked it just didn't go for exactly 1 hour. I was in like 50 minutes left of the show. I'm like, there's a good chance like this actually goes for 50 minutes and the last 30 seconds is them going, gotta go, bye.
Yeah.
Sort of thing there. And just everything about it was just freaking amazing. Like, it showed tag team wrestling can and is the main event of it, sort of thing there. And FTR is who would have thought FTR would be the most over as tag team? As
baby faces.
Yes, exactly.
Like, even just their music hits, like that little chime at the start of their music hits, and the crowd just goes ballistic. It's like, what? Even they've said they hated that song when they first heard it. But now it's so them.
Like, now it's stuck in my head, and it's all going to play for this. Like, the rest of this is the dun 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 dun, which is just perfect when you need to try and stay focused. But this like the quickest 20 minutes at the start of it, like that 20 minutes when they said 20 minutes pass
after the first pinfall, no, like 20 minutes has passed. Like, what?
Yeah, like I was like, no, that can't have been. And then like they do it again, and it's like 10 minutes have passed, like the second pinfall, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, my whole perception of time just completely got lost in that match, which is always a sign of a very good match.
Mm-hmm. And like, with this being a rematch from the Supercard of Honor show, I was like, ooh, this could be really hard to live up to that match and then exceed the expectations. But Nah, they did that with ease. Like, they blew that match out of the water. And this match is currently match of the year. Their Supercard of Honor match is my second favorite match of the year. Like, they have the top two matches of the year by far, I think. And then probably Will and Orange Cassidy would be third.
Yeah, like there's a reason why my mate at work who like got back into wrestling during COVID, first ever Briscoe match he watched was FDR versus the Briscoes. And like he's like, that I don't like, everyone's got their thing in wrestling, you know, whether it's big lads, slapping meat, death match, technical, his is tag team.
Yeah, no like, wonder. After seeing that
match, he's like, I think he's at Splendor in the Grass at the moment, and I'm shocked he hasn't texted me going, yeah, I found like a little bit of Wi-Fi and I watched the main event for that. So, but it's just, even the ref bump looked so good. Like that looked like a proper act. Like you legitimately thought that was a proper accident and not just, oh man, I'm just going to run into this corner where the referee happens to be standing.
Well, he came back and he had the bloody lip.
Yeah. Oh, really?
He came back and he had blood on his face. I was like, what the?
That's a good attention to detail of him getting like punched out and just and
it was the first time I've seen a ref come back bleeding. I was like, what?
Yeah, it didn't lead to like the Bucks running out. It didn't lead to anything like that. It just led to them going ahead and deciding to take one of the best looking nasty back suplexes off the top rope through the table that exploded.
And before that, we got the bell dinging off Cash's head. Like it dinged. It made the actual bell ding sound off his head. I was like, what?
Just everything after. And then, you know, they teased a bit of a heel-ish thing. And, you know, there was the visual pinfalls and this. And no one looked at it. No one came out of that going, lol, Briscoe's lost. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. It was like...
All overbooked. Everyone was like... That was all perfectly done. I love that it was just basically like 1 hour of them beating the crap out of each other. But then with like those couple of big spots sprinkled in. So yeah, like we got that back suplex to the table, which was nuts. And then to finish the match, we got the pile driver off the second rope, rolled over into basically him just passing out on top of him for the pin. I was like, wow. Yeah. And then like we even got Jay Briscoe kicking out of Big Rig, the first man in history to do so.
Yeah, no, again, that was another thing. I'm like, nah, surely someone else has, but I'm like, no, that's the first person to...
Yeah, they've protected that move hard.
And yeah, Briscoe's being the one to kick it out is definitely a huge sign. And like, even the pinfall at the end, they're like, oh no, his legs covered his shoulders. So when you watch the replay, you're like, oh, it wasn't just him, oh, if I just put my foot over him. It was designed perfectly. Perfect love letter to that fan base that want to see good wrestling.
Yeah, worth the price of the pay-per-view just for this match. If Dax isn't the wrestler of the year, there is something wrong with the voting system. Like his chest in this match. How ridiculous was his chest in this match where it was like running with blood just from chops? I was like, this is nuts. These guys are going absolutely ballistic.
You know, like there's surely a bet backstage of, hey, lol, do you think I could win Wrestler of the Year? I'll bet you a slab. And he's like, I'm fine, done, let's go. You know, one of those stupid bets that has turned out absolutely incredible for him.
And then we finished with the post-match Blackpool Combat Club coming out onto the stage to stare down FTR.
Yes.
An awesome moment that could lead to nothing, but could also lead to just an incredible, like, let's just see who is the best.
Dax deciding to do a pure rules match just because, again, there's a slab on the line that he can't win Wrestler of the Year. And he's going to go to a pure rules match to prove he can, you know.
He can do technical as well.
Definitely. Yeah, that's it. That's the sole reason for it. It's just, how do we get him into a technical rules match? Just come on stage and stare him down.
So overall, like, just a super enjoyable pay-per-view. Totally worth checking out. Match of the night, main event for me. I assume very easily the same for you.
Yeah,
It's my match of the year.
not
So.
even yeah.
It'd be weird if it was
yeah,
match of the year and not match of the night.
Yeah, it's like nah, you know that man, that 6-man tag, strong competition, but yeah, no, that definitely went by far, and I'm also glad that the pure rules didn't go an hour, because then you try to top it in the main event, and it's like, oh, takes away from it.
Yep. Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Jason on Twitter at JasonWookie. And you can follow me on social media at JamYapsMedia and at Pario Magazine. Thanks for jumping on, and we will see you next pay-per-view, probably.
Yay.
The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the community support group level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Brian and June Hart, Blake Robinson, Rena Renee, Courtney Paulson, Darren Hatcliffe, Jackson Carr, and Tracy Apps.